I'll point out to especially the new people, we got a lot of good food thanks to Kenneth and Kenneth Baptiste and Roxanna. And ready to grab some whatever you want.
We have
Cajun
Very
chicken too.
two.
Oh, wow. And that's after I introduce Chris, are you introducing Chris?
My honor to introduce former punter for the Minnesota Vikings. When confronted with MAGA fascism, responded this way. You see him, Huntington Beach.
Oh.
I will let him tell you his whole story.
Hello. Chris Kluwe. Yep, it's all right. Don't worry if you get it wrong. But yeah, no. So I'm former punter for the Minnesota Vikings. Resident of Huntington Beach for over 15 years at this point. I think 15 or 16 years. I grew up in Seal Beach. Went to Los Alamitos for high school. Went to UCLA for college. So I am a Southern California kid. This is where I'm from. Yeah, go Bruins. That's right. But yeah, so unfortunately in Huntington Beach, I don't know how familiar everyone here is with the history of Huntington Beach, but it has been a very racist place for a long time. It looked like it was turning the corner, which is why my wife and I decided to move there back in 2008, 2009. Unfortunately, it has now returned the corner, and our city council is 7 MAGA fanatics, and they are not interested in listening to our community. I've been attending city council meetings for over, I think, 3 years, 2.5 for sure. I think 3 years was my first city council meeting. And they don't listen to the community. They don't take any feedback. They don't debate anything. They have their agenda. They're going to implement it. And it's not a Huntington Beach agenda. It's a MAGA agenda. So the thing I spoke up on, the MAGA plaque, was just the latest in their assault on the library. So about 2.5 years ago is when the assault began with Gracie Vandermark, who, if you're not familiar with Gracie Vandermark, she has been banned from multiple school board meetings for harassment and abuse. And she is just generally not a nice person. So she wanted to get a bunch of books out of the children's section because she thought they were pornographic and would lead to grooming and pedophilia. The majority of these books were LGBTQ books. They dealt with, children growing up, understanding how their bodies worked, and they're not pornographic because librarians won't allow porn in libraries. That's part of their job. They work very hard to become librarians, and part of that job is making sure there's not a hustler in the kids section. So Gracie tried to ban the books. The community got into an outroar and said, no, we don't want you to ban the books. Like, you can't ban books. That's not what we do in America. So in response, the city council decided to create a oversight board which would judge the content of the books in the library. And the community was like, you're just trying to ban books again. So that led to another uproar. We started a petition, got over 17,000 signatures. And said, basically, get rid of this board. I'll get back to the petitions in a second because there's more than one. After that happened, the next assault was they tried to privatize the library. They're like, the library is not being run well. We need to make more money. And for those of you who don't know, Huntington Beach's Central Library is to make more money. Yeah, right. Huntington Beach's Central Library is widely regarded as like one of the crown jewels of Huntington Beach. It's not just Huntington Beach, like people come from cities all around Huntington Beach to go to the Central Library. Like it is a gorgeous library and it's run really, really well. They do lots of really cool events. And so the city council is like, well, we're going to privatize it. So the community is like, well, obviously you're just doing this to retaliate and you're trying to mess with the library again. So that was petition number 2. To where any attempt at privatizing the library would go to a citywide public vote. Their 4th attack on the library was this plaque, which was a plaque that featured MAGA as an acrostic. Their actual words were magical, alluring, galvanizing, and adventurous. And I don't know about you, I don't want my library to be alluring. That's right, that's really not the right word for a library. And so I saw that. I went to the library commission meeting first, and this was the week before I got arrested for protesting. And over 90% of the people there were like, this plaque sucks. Like it's ugly and it has MAGA on it. Like, we don't like this plaque. We want to honor the library. We want to celebrate its 50 year anniversary. We just don't want this plaque to do it. Library Commission rubber stamped it, sent it to the council. No debate, no talking over, nothing. They just like, city council wants us to do this, we'll send it to them. Then comes the city council meeting. So I knew they were going to vote 7-0 to pass the plaque, because that's just what they do. They don't listen to the community. And so I was like, okay, well, we've been trying to talk with you for over 2.5 years. Like, we've been trying to make our voices heard. And one thing you'll notice in city council meetings is that people will speak up, but they have this sense of resigned frustration in their voices, right? They're like, it's our civic duty to let you know what our community wants, but you just don't listen. Like, you don't care about anything we talk about. I can't tell you the last time I've seen them actually debate something the community has come up. They don't speak about anything. They just enact what they want to do. So anyway, so I saw this coming up. I was like, all right, well, clearly they're not listening. I want to do something more. And it's also something I wanted my Democratic elected officials to be doing. I mean, Trump is assaulting our government right now. We are in an existential crisis as a country, and we have to decide if we're going to be a democracy or if we're going to be something else. And I'm a history and poli-sci major. So I grew up, reading about the protests against Vietnam, the civil rights movement of the 1960s, the suffragette movement to give women the right to vote. Like, this rebellion is in America's nature. Like, we don't like it when people try to tell us, you can't be free. And so
MAGA people think they're rebels too.
oh yeah, no, I said, well, they're rebelling against common sense and basic science. Like, that's what they do. So anyway, so I saw this, plaque coming to the city council. I was like, okay, well, if I want my elected officials to be arrested, right, for going into the Treasury Department and seeing what Doge is doing with our personal information, or going into the Social Security Department and saying, hey, what are you doing with Americans' personal information? I gotta be willing to do the same thing. And so, yeah, went to the city council meeting, gave my speech, where I also explicitly compared MAGA to a Nazi movement, because it is. I posted my sources online, which are all reputable media sources. It's very clear that the MAGA agenda is one that ends with people dying. And it may not be exactly the same as what the Nazis did, but it will rhyme with it. Because first, the Nazis came for trans people. First, Donald Trump came for trans people. Nazis tried to tear down the government so they could accumulate power in their own hands. Donald Trump's currently in the process of tearing down our government to accumulate power in his own hands. Nazis wanted to start wars with other countries nearby so that way they could claim resources. I don't know if you've seen the news. Donald Trump wants to start a war with Canada. Canada's been an ally of ours for over 100 years. Like, there is absolutely no reason to make Canada a 51st state. They are a sovereign nation. They are not an American territory. Donald Trump wants to take Greenland. I don't know why. I guess he just likes seeing big land masses on a map. But, like, again, the parallels are all there. And what people don't understand is that Nazi Germany did not start with death camps. It started with Hitler being elected by good Germans who thought he had their best interests in mind. Donald Trump got elected by a lot of good Americans who think he has their best interests in mind. And it is very clear from Donald Trump's behavior that he does not. Yeah, well, they're learning now. Problem is, we got to stop it before it gets too late. So anyways, that's all the background as to why I chose to engage in peaceful civil disobedience, because we do have a time-honored tradition of doing it. Big fan of John Lewis causing good trouble, right? Big fan of Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X. All of the people in America's history that have stood up and said, no, this is important to me. I am willing to break the law to make sure you understand how important this is and that we need to address it. So yeah, so I told the council I was going to engage in peaceful civil disobedience. Walked out from behind the dais. Cops were on me pretty quick. Put my hands behind my back. Told the cop I was going to go limp. Went down to the ground. They put the handcuffs on me, rolled me over. They're like, are you going to walk out? I was like, no, you're going to have to carry me out. So they carried me out. After they carried me out, I was like, okay, I'll walk now. The point's been made. And again, I'm not trying to make their lives miserable. I just want to make the city council's life miserable. And so, yeah, so then they booked me, charged me with a criminal misdemeanor of disrupting an assembly at a court date in April, where we'll see what will happen. Because honestly, the best thing the city could do would be to drop the charges and make the circus go away. Because we've gotten a lot of national attention over this.
The best thing they could do from what point of view?
From their point of view. Because, right, like, if I'm not getting charged with something, then there's no reason to talk about me. I'm not sure these people are that smart. So we're going to see what happens at the arraignment date. But yeah, it's just a shame because I see in Huntington Beach a microcosm of what is happening to our nation as a whole, and it really sucks to live in. Like it is not good for our community. Our community is based on tourism. Like we make a bulk of our money from people coming in to visit Huntington Beach and like, go to the beach and attend events. And when you become known as the Nazi town, like people don't go there. Because, I mean, that's not a good place to go. And again, it's very clear that the MAGA agenda is not one that is for a community. It's just for whatever MAGA wants. So I'm hopeful that more people will understand that and stand up and say, no, like, no, this is clearly not right. It's un-American. And you cannot wave an American flag while also supporting a guy who wants to put a crown on his head. those two things literally cannot coexist. That's what we found in our nation. So yeah, so thank you for having me here. Let me tell my story. And then yeah, if anyone has any questions, anything at all. Yeah, Martin, I always told. Yeah, that's and again, like that's for someone like me who has the privilege to be able to speak up, right? Like they won't come for me first. I'm a straight white dude, with a pretty decent amount of money. Like I'm not first on the list. Problem is, I'm definitely on the list. They will come for me at some point. So if I want to protect myself, I got to protect everyone else because, like, otherwise, yeah, they will come for me. So that's my point. Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, and it is incumbent upon people like me. Like, I want to see more well-off white people start fixing this problem because let's also be perfectly frank. Donald Trump is a white person problem. Like that's who voted for him. We got to lead the charge in cleaning up our mess. Like, and I know obviously probably no one in this room voted for Donald Trump, but again, like it is very clear from the statistics, from the voting records that Donald Trump was elected by white men and women. And so we can't force the people who are being oppressed to bear the burden. That's not their burden to bear. It's our burden to bear. We got to do it. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, but a lot of people who just came out and said, I'm gonna press you in, threw you over, voted for him anyway.
Yeah, that's so one other thing I'm trying to help people understand, and that's why I use the good German analogy, right? Is that Huntington Beach does lean conservative, right? It is a conservative area. But a lot of those people are small C conservatives, right? They just want lower taxes and they don't want houses in their backyard. And like we can disagree on that, right? Like we can have arguments about that. But what we cannot have an argument over is whether someone is allowed to exist. Because that is the first step towards genocide. And so we need to get those small C conservatives aware that the wagon they hitched themselves to is a Nazi wagon. And that if they want to be American, they got to come back over and help us stop this, and then we can go back to arguing with each other. But right now, we have a choice between either being America or being something else. And I prefer America. Like, you know, yeah. That one was a cheap American dream, but I think it's worth inspiring.
I don't know that, but, I'm very familiar with that. And
So that's a great point. Huntington Beach has a huge problem right now with money coming in from outside sources, particularly Calvary Chapel is a big mini church that has a big presence in the area. And unfortunately, a lot of Huntington Beach voters vote based on the last sign that they see. So the right side hangs signs everywhere. And you get those small C conservative voters, and they see, oh, those are our people, we should vote for them. And it's like, no, that's not what the entire community wants. One of our other big problems is that we have very low voter turnout. We need to do a better job getting people invested and understanding why this matters, right? And so, but like getting back to the money part, Huntington Beach, unlike the city surrounding us, is not a precinct city council. We are an at-large city council. So it's whatever the top 3 or top 4 vote getters are, they're the ones who get elected, right? Our 4th place finisher this last election cycle, Natalie Moser, she's a Democrat, she was previously on the city council. She raised over $260,000 for a city council race and still lost. And like, I don't know about you, but $260,000 for a city council race is ridiculous. Yeah, obviously in Anaheim now, because you got Disney, but yeah, like for a beach town, like that's more than people that we have. And it still wasn't enough. So yeah, we desperately need to get the money out. Our elected officials, we really need to start pushing them to overturn Citizens United, because that is at the core of all of the problems that we are facing, is the idea that money can substitute for a voice, and it cannot. A person has a voice, money does not have a voice. Because if you give money a voice, then the person with the most money is the only one that has a voice. So if we want to fix America, Citizens United has got to go.
That were on the January 6th insurrection.
I know there's more than 0.
There's quite a few.
Yeah.
The mentality has always been there.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure.
It goes back to the 60s, 50s, and 60s. But the John Birch Society going way back. So.
Yeah, that's
why I grew up in that town, and people used to say that, and I would stick up for Huntington Beach, because up until just 2022, they always had a reasonable council.
right. Yeah.
I think, suddenly these people woke up and voted.
Yeah, well, I think COVID broke everyone's brains. Like, I think that's honestly what happened. We asked people to do the bare minimum to look out for everyone else, and they just couldn't handle it. But yeah, no, it is really important to recognize Huntington Beach's history with this, and that's the reason why my wife and I initially moved to Huntington Beach, is because my parents still live in Seal Beach, my wife's parents live in Ventura. We wanted our kids to see their grandparents, and we're like, oh, Huntington Beach, like at the time, affordable, right? At the time, turning the right corner, going in the right direction. Now, I wouldn't live in Huntington Beach. Like, I wouldn't visit Huntington Beach. And I've had multiple people tell me, I will not spend money in Huntington Beach. I will not go to Huntington Beach. It is directly related to what our city council is doing. It is really frustrating because, again, the city council is supposed to represent the entire community. Like, it's not supposed to be for one particular part of the community.
Who's gonna run next year?
I don't know.
Are you?
Yeah, probably. I don't think I have the mentality to be a politician, to be honest. I prefer.
Tito pulled it off.
So
Yeah.
yeah, Tito's actually hilarious because he quit in the middle of a city council meeting, and I'll give Tito credit because so I actually know Dan Kalnick, one of the former council members. We actually grew up in the city together, and he was like, yeah, this city council meeting. Tito just turns and looks at us. He's like, I don't think this is the job for me. And then he left. It's like,
Well, you're acting like you give a big chunk of change to support somebody who would make difference, and that's even more important.
oh yeah, for sure.
It's not actually that's the largest journey, and it's going to take a lot of.
Oh yeah, for sure.
We need more brave young people.
Yeah, so going back to your reference of the Nazi Germany, we realized kind of the reason the good German people voted in.
Oh, right.
And I think we're seeing that parallels for them now.
Right.
I lived somewhere else for the last 12 years. So a lot of my friends are telling me that the English in California are very easy.
Go to Central Valley.
But I'm seeing people that I've known for years that I've been on buy into that. And when I try to talk to them, they really shut down. When I try to present those facts, so what would you say kind of the best remedy to that?
Yes. So what I found in actually talking to people who are on the other side is that recognizing that there are legit economic concerns, because that also was something that was the case in Nazi Germany. Germany was having to pay a ton of reparations from the end of World War I. Their economy was in shambles. There was no industry. There are significant economic issues facing the United States right now. Like I mean, obviously the price of eggs is a meme, right? But like it goes to show. I mean, we were just talking about housing. People can't afford a house, and we have to fix that by taking the money away from the super rich and giving it back to other people, because our current level of inequality, wealth inequality, is higher than it was during the Gilded Age, which was right before the Great Depression. And now we're right on track to recreate the Great Depression. And so like we have to be able to talk to people and understand that they do have legitimate concerns. What we need them to be aware of is that the people they think are addressing those concerns don't have their best interests in mind. Like they are not actually looking out for the little guy. They're just looking to concentrate more wealth and power in their own hands. Because I think that's one where you really can reach people, and especially when you start talking about stuff like Social Security, right? Because everyone pays into Social Security. It's like that's your money. Like you're not getting that from someone else. That was your money. So if they take it away, they're stealing from you. So,
It's just a matter of like trying to reach everybody.
Right. Yeah, it's well, and then another thing I found is also like the good German analogy, right? Like you can honestly believe that Donald Trump was the best candidate for you, right? Like you could believe that he was the guy that was going to fix everything. But now you need to look at what he's actually doing. right? And is what he's doing helping? And if it's not, maybe let's reconsider our support and talk about actually helping the problem.
Because he pretty much promised to do all these things.
Oh yeah, no, he did.
Nobody paid attention or took him seriously, and they liked it.
So I also have my problems with our media as well. Like there's a reason I didn't do an interview with the New York Times. Because the New York Times is doing the same shit they did back in the 1930s when Hitler came to power. They would apologize for him, they apologized for Trump.
Thank you, Chris, for being here, but also just for the action.
Yeah.
Hopefully, sometimes people have to be shocked back into
Right.
reality. So what has been the reaction that you've received so far from the good people in Huntington Beach? Are you getting emails? Are you getting death threats? Are you getting emails that say, hey, man, I didn't realize how bad it is. All you were trying to do is speak to your government. What's the reaction you received? And might there be something that creates a movement?
Right. So right now, been pretty overwhelmingly positive. I've only got one threatening text, one threatening phone call. It's actually from a guy in Georgia, so I don't Huntington Beach.
Feel pretty safe.
Yeah,
I think
it was Daryl. I talked with Daryl. Daryl opened up with a homophobic and racial slur, and then eventually I got Daryl to apologize because Daryl grew up really poor and really thought Donald Trump was going to help him. And I'm like, Daryl, what is Donald Trump doing? So I don't know if I fully convinced him, but you know, and that's where like I will have conversations with him, right? Like it's like and I've had that after a previous city council meeting that I just went to. Like there's a guy, he voted for Trump. He also has a trans kid. I'm like, okay, how do you square that circle in your life? But you know, he's like, I just don't like being called a Nazi. And I'm like, okay, I understand that. No one wants to think that they're a Nazi, but here's what's happening. Here's what happened back then. So if you don't want to be a Nazi, like you can't help the Nazis do what they do. Like that's how it works. Like you don't have to wear the swastika. You just got to stamp the timesheet that sends the train out. That's helping the Nazis. So yeah, no, it's been very supportive. Online has been very supportive. Although I'm also on Blue Sky and I subscribe to a MAGA block list, so I'm sure that's filtering out a lot of comments. But yeah, I've heard from parents that have that I've coached their kids. They're like, it's bullshit what they did to you. They didn't want you fired. I've had friends and family reach out, be like, hey, this is great. One of our friends, he's a sergeant with the LAPD. He's like, that was fantastic, man. You're great. He's also trying to help reform the LAPD's training policies, so he's doing God's work in terms of that. But yeah, I think there is a groundswell in Huntington Beach. I just don't know if it's going to be enough, honestly, because again, our problem with Calvary Chapel and the fact that they can just whip an entire 20,000 strong church community to show up and vote. We have to find we got to knock on
What's
doors.
Calvary there? Is there one in Huntington Beach?
Oh yeah, there's a bunch. Like there's a bunch of them in Huntington Beach.
I thought there was like mega churches.
Yeah, no, they are. We have a bunch.
Yeah, I should have known that. But
Yeah. So I got firsthand experience with them when they so three of our city council members just held a press conference complaining that the ACLU was suing the city over the book ban. And so they bust in all their church supporters. It's in the middle of the day, so normal people are working, right? And so you get this whole audience of clearly religious fanatics, and the council members are urging them on in a chant of pedophile against the people who are supporting the library. And I'm like, this isn't really representing your whole community, is it? Like this is not what a city council is supposed to do. So that's what we're having to deal with, and that's what we need people to understand. Is again, the city council doesn't care about Huntington Beach. They just care about accumulating political power and making their way further into Trump's orbit. Our previous city attorney, Michael Gates, he's a prime example of that. He's the one that's brought all the nuisance lawsuits from Huntington Beach against the state of California, refusing to build affordable housing. So wasted hundreds of thousands of taxpayer dollars, got tapped for Trump's Justice Department, and I believe he's in the Civil Rights Division. So good luck, everyone. One of our other city council members, Tony Strickland, recently just won an election for state assembly, I believe. Yeah, state senate. He was in Huntington Beach for all of 2 years. And the reason why he was in Huntington Beach is because he had to leave Ventura because he was embezzling money. So now he's in our state senate. We'll have fun with that. But yeah, it's very clear that the rest of these city council members, they just want political power and to keep making their way up the ladder. They don't care about the city as a whole.
What you just shared, your arguments make sense. I think anybody who would just listen to you and not get all focused on what you did to the ball, you know, but,
What's what I expect from
yeah,
people, so I gotta do it.
and we need more people to do that. I can tell you, social justice, a lot of people will agree, but they won't actually speak up. They
Right.
won't say anything. They'll let you speak up and you take the hit. But, I mean, you need to be, everybody thinks of Chris Kluwe, the guy that walked up on the
Right.
station. But no, you listen to what Chris Kluwe has to say. When you start talking about history and the parallels, I didn't even know some of that.
Yeah.
So that needs to be shared, and I'd love to see major network TV because your story is made national news.
Yeah, so the good news, I've been on CNN, I've been on MSNBC, I did an interview with, MSNBC was on Joy Reid's show right before they canceled it.
now.
Yeah, I know, right?
I'd like to see you on Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah, no, I mean,
I'm serious about.
I'm open to whatever.
Yeah, no.
And like, one of the big messages actually that I've been trying to get out on these shows is that people need to get involved locally, right? Like, and if you don't know how to get involved locally, you can just show up to your city council meeting, because the people there care about issues, right? Like, there's a reason they're there. And so talk with those people, you know, get involved with those people. Indivisible chapters are great for getting local people who understand the issues. The Tesla takedown protest, highly recommend. If you want to do something, show up to a Tesla takedown protest. The other big thing, gotta find a way to get young people involved. It's super important. The point earlier about social media is key. Have to be on social media. You have to have a presence that lets people know, here's what we stand for, here's who we are, and it's a place that gives young people hope about the future, right? Because right now, a lot of young people, they see Democratic leadership. This leadership has been there since I was a kid. Like, they've been in there for 40, 50 years, and it's time to let the reins go. It's empirically proven what you're doing doesn't work, because we are now living under Donald Trump's America. So let's get some younger people in there, right? Let's get the younger generation a reason to get invested in politics.
Yeah.
Like, because right now they don't have a reason. They see the future and they don't see a place for themselves in it. And we have to give them a place and a reason to get involved in their future.
That segues nicely into our next thing.
Cool. All right. Well, I'm going to show you that.
Great.
Thank you, everyone.